Good morning. It is pretty early, not too early. But anyways, my boys have been asking for some fresh bread, and it's been a long time since I've made fresh bread. Not so much that it's hard to do. I would have to say it's more time consuming than anything, but they love it, and I don't mind making it. So I'm going to show you that it's not too hard, but definitely some time. So anyways, we're making just plain white sandwich bread. I'm hoping to get it done and cooled off, so for lunch we can have some sandwiches, and we'll be using the fresh baked bread to make our sandwiches. So the first thing we're going to start off with is we have to activate our yeast. So I've got some hot water here, and it's supposed to be about 110 to 115 degrees. And for some reason this morning when I decided to make this, my temperature thing disappeared. So since I've done this before, even though it's been a while, I kind of have a good idea of what it is. But if you do have a thermometer, it's not a big deal. Honestly, most of the time, if you just put it through the hot tap water, and it usually ends up being hot enough. Your tap water usually ends up being close to 110 degrees. If you do need it a little bit warmer, then pop it in the microwave for 10-15 seconds and double check it to make sure, because if it is too hot, it will kill your yeast. So you don't want it too hot. But don't be intimidated by that, because I know I was intimidated by that. I was like, oh my gosh, my water needs to be 110 to 115 degrees. Oh, I'm going to mess it up. You're not, really. So anyways, I'm pretty confident that I've got this water warm enough. And if you're using a jar like I am, you need to use 2 1/4 teaspoons of yeast. Or if you have a dry active packet, you can use the dry active packet. That's fine too. So it's a quart, and it says it on the jar, that a 2 1/4 teaspoons is equivalent to 1 package of active dry yeast. So we need to, I stir that up a little bit to make sure all the yeast is getting wet. Okay, so the yeast is all ready, and I actually poured it in my mixing bowl. And then what we're going to do now is pour in the rest of the ingredients. So I have 2 tablespoons of salt, and I usually use sea salt when it comes to this. But I use sea salt for just about everything. 3 tablespoons of sugar, and then 2 tablespoons of, they recommend vegetable oil, but I usually use canola oil. My husband has a hard time using vegetable oil, so we use canola. I haven't experimented with any other oils, so if you want to experiment with oils and see if it comes out the same, that's fine by me. And then what I do is I actually put 3 cups of the white flour in now. And then it'll mix all together. And then we're going to add the rest of it. So the best part about doing it this way is I've already got this all in my mixing bowl. And then I'm going to get my handy dandy mixer, which takes care of half our job. Put my little bread thing here. Put this sucker in here and start mixing. Okay, so it's been mixing for a little bit. Now I feel like the first batch of flour is well in there. So then I'm going to get my other 3 cups of flour. So all total you're using about 6 cups of flour. And I'm just going to start putting this in here. Sometimes I get some flour on my whatcha-jobber on the top there. Let that go a little bit. So then what I keep doing is I keep adding a little bit at a time until my other 3 cups of flour is completely gone. All right, so my dough is pretty much done. It took me a couple of minutes, and this is how it's going to come out of your pan here, just kind of like this. Now what we have to do is we have to put some flour on our surface, which I obviously have already cleaned up, and we're going to take this wonderful, yummy batter off of our machine here. Maybe it's a little heavy and sticky and everything in between. So anyways, so we're going to get all this off. Just like this. Oh, and expect to get your hands involved here. You're not completely hand-free yet. Okay, so now we got all our batter out. There's just Boy, it's on there good. I can't seem to get that off now. Anyways, there was just a little bit of batter left over, but that's it. There's that right there. Move this out of the way. Move this in here. That can go there. Okay, so now we've got our wonderful dough here. And let me see here. Tilt that. There it is. Okay, so we've got it on a lightly floured surface. And now we're actually going to knead it. And we're going to knead it probably for about 8 to 10 minutes or so, depending on how long you think you need to knead it. And you want it kind of a little bit elasticity, you know, to be good. And basically the whole purpose of kneading it is to get some of, I believe it's the air bubbles out. Anyways, I get it out of my Betty Crocker cookbook. But anyways, so what you're going to want to do, this is how I do it, is I grab it from here, I go in here, and with my palms, I push outward. Turn it a little bit, palms outward. Turn it. So you're getting a little bit of a, you know, ab workout here because you're going to use the palm of your hands. You're kind of pushing into it. You're rotating it, you know, about a quarter at a time and just really kneading that in there, like I said, for about 8 to 10 minutes. If you need to add a little bit more flour as you go ahead and add it. And I get myself up in a lunge position and just use my whole body and just start kneading this sucker. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I've done it to the point until it is smooth and elastic, and I believe that is exactly what I've got going on right here, is nice smooth and elasticity. Then at this point, it's the waiting game. So you are supposed to get a large bowl. This is what I usually use. And I put some butter in it and until it's completely surrounded in butter. And what you want to do is you want to grab your dough, you throw it in there, and then they recommend that you turn it at least once so it doesn't get too dry up on top. And I grab a nice clean kitchen towel, and this is the part where you just need to let it rise until it's about double the amount. Now, the best part, if you do it in the summer, I've done this before where I've actually set it outside with a cover on up high, so obviously no critters or ants or anything like that will be able to get to it, and the heat from the summer will help me rise it. Unfortunately, today it's raining outside, so I'm not going to be putting it outside. So what I do is I turn on my oven. I usually put it to about 170 degrees, and I put it on for a few minutes, and then I turn it off because obviously you don't want it too hot. You just want it warm. So it makes it rise and get to double its height. So I think before I started this video, I turned on the oven, then turned it off, and I checked it, and it seemed like it was warm. So we're going to stick it in there, and we'll be back. Now at this point, this is the best part to do your getting dressed like I'm about to do. Do up any cleaning, any running around, because this takes about an hour and a half to get this section of things done. So this is a good time to multitask and get some stuff done while you're waiting for it to rise. We'll be back. All right, so I'm back. It's been probably about an hour and a half, maybe a little bit longer. This is what my dough looks like now. And let's see here. There it is. So that's what it looks like now. And what we're going to do is we're going to actually take that out. We're going to split it in half. And we're going to put it into 2 containers like this. This has already been greased and ready to go. So let's see if I can fix this a little bit. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to punch it down. We're going to pull it up, take it out, just like that. Now what I usually do, you don't have to do it, but I've got a scale here that I like to use, and I'll try to do my best to get this in half the best way I can. So I usually kind of just do one of these things and cut it in half like so. And I try my best. That says 1 pound 11 ounces. This is 1 pound 7 ounces. So, see here, 1 pound 8, 1 pound 9.4. So let's see where we're at with this one. 1.94, 1.96, close enough. So that's all measured out. So then what we're gonna do, you can see Daniel in the background playing. But anyways, so then what we're going to do is we're going to actually kind of form them into a loaf type thing. And now they're anyways, and we're going to put these in here in the loaf pans here. So I just kind of do one of these things, kind of mix it up a little bit because it's been in that shape for a while. Okay, and then we're going to put one in here. See, it's kind of a little long here. One in here. It doesn't have to obviously be completely perfect. Bit close to filling it up. And then I'm going to get this one. Do the same type of thing. I usually just like to kind of put it up in a ball first. And then I'll put it in my pan. And voila. Push it down in there. Get the sides off. Alright, so there's 2 of them. Now, this is waiting game step 2. So now we got, after we put them in here, basically the same type of thing. They need to sit there and rise for about 30 to 45 minutes and until they get a little bit bigger. Some places recommend that until it gets above the rim. Sometimes it gets above the rim, sometimes it doesn't. It just really depends. But anyway, so these go back to rising again. And then we'll bake. So we're close to done. Okay, so it's been about 45 minutes or so. For some reason, my yeast has taken longer to rise today. Anyways, so now it's just time to bake it for 30 to 35 minutes at 375 degrees. And hopefully soon we will be having some nice bread to eat. All right, so the timer went off. And this, my dears, is my loaf of bread, my beautiful loaf. And all we do is we take that out and we put it on our cooling rack and we let it cool for a few minutes and then we eat it. Yay, there's bread. All right, so I cut a little piece of the bread off and as you can see, it looks like a loaf of bread. There's a little piece cut off and that's what it looks like, nice and yummy. And I went ahead and put a little bit of butter on here just for right now. And obviously you can make it any way you want. So I'm just putting a little bit of butter. And there is nothing like fresh baked bread. Alright, so if you guys want to try it, give it a try. Love it. It tastes wonderful. And have a great day.